Right, here we go. I had someone ask a comment or post a comment asking about how to do a gearing change or how I change my gear, so I thought I'd do a video on that. If you watch some of my other videos, I've already made a few tweaks. I switched out the XT90 to QS8 because I'm going to run 6S parallel, so soldered this up earlier, made a parallel port for these couple of smaller 6S packs. This is about as big as it's gonna get. Barely fits in there with the body on, but this is how I'm gonna do it. I know some people will do bullet connectors, but we'll see. We will see. But back to changing gears. It's gonna be a little bit of a pain no matter how you do it. There's just, everything's kind of right here. You can't really get the spur gear separated from the mount, so I think you have to take the whole mount off. I looked at maybe taking the top off because the differential in here is in like a housing that can pull out, but the way I think I'm going to do it is actually just take the whole rear end off. So you'll need to take the top deck off. I've got that loosened already, and then basically all the screws in the back half here I think is going to be the easiest way to do it, but we'll film and I'll show you what I did in this car, the one I'm using for the speed challenge. I actually converted to Mod1 gearing in here, and I'll show you that. I happened to get two of them. I got an RTR basically for spare parts because I didn't know when that would be available in case I'm sure I'm gonna crash at some point doing the speed challenge. So basically got this for spare parts, and we'll see how long things get, but I can I'll film this, show you the Mod1, and then I'll take the RTR here, I think, and then put in the speed gearing on the spool and stuff. So I'll show you that as well, but let's get into taking things apart. So to remove the top deck, you have two choices. You can take out these 8 screws, or I think this will be easier. I know it will because I already did it once. But take out these 4 screws. It's a little tight, but you can pop off the top deck. Another thing that's just going to be a thing working on this vehicle is there's no spot to mount an antenna tube. I'm sure I could work something up, and I may still do that, but right now I've just got it set up to run along the top deck here and kind of stick out the back, and I had decent range on my first few runs, so we're gonna stick with that for now. But top deck, I'll try to keep the screws together with the associated parts here. Just a comment, just thought of this, well, if you want to go parallel batteries or bigger batteries, you're gonna have to do something different as far as battery straps. The ones provided weren't big enough for me to try to fit those two 22 mAh 6S in. But we'll just keep going here. So these 2 outside ones actually hold the cover on. And the weird thing, there's this little aluminum spacer that falls, and I've forgotten the handful of times I've taken this off, but it all goes together. So you can see here I actually put in Mod1 gearing, and the nice thing Rlaarlo did is the spool, the shaft of the spool is 5mm, so any pinion you have for like a 5mm motor can double as the spur. You'll have to work with some spacers. I'll show you when we get in there, but I use some like nitro clutch spacers. Those are also 5mm to move this back. I think you could probably flip the spur around the other way and then have your pinion running off, but this is how I chose to do it. No rubbing. Again, I'll show you. Just stick with me here. So then the next three that I've already loosened are these three that hold the motor mount in. I loosen those, pre-loosened them because that you're going to want to Loctite those in. These three that go into aluminum there, the two up here and the two here, you're also going to want to Loctite into the C and D blocks for the suspension in the back. I just told you to Loctite them, and I didn't do what I needed to do. So pointer, anything you know is Loctited. If you use power tools, make sure you loosen by hand, because if you Loctited them right, they should be a little tight, and you risk stripping the head of the screw out if you go straight to the power tool. Usually not an issue for plastic, but I know a lot of people will kind of do your first turns when you're taking it out by hand, and then out the last couple by hand into plastic. This is pretty nice in plastic because it's a gyroscopic screwdriver. It kind of self-torques, or you can feel when it's getting tight. Just going to take these screws out. Just keep them in order of how I came out. So front of the vehicle here, put those are the motor mount. Front of the vehicle here, working back just so I keep the right length. Should be able to just, if I disconnect the motor, this whole back end will now slide off, which I think will be easier just because, like I said, I think you probably, to come off the top, you have to take the top deck off, then these 4 screws and those 4, pull it out. And I was fighting the dog bones quite a bit trying to get it back together. So I think this is the way I'm going to end up doing it. Moving forward. A lot of screws, but kind of is what it is. Note. So there's the input shaft. There is a spacer. I didn't pay attention, but I've got it on the forward side of the mount here. And then the bearing. I'll actually take this off for you. Maybe. So then you can see here I have a couple shims that you use on a nitro vehicle for spacing out the clutch belt. Looks like I used 2. And then to convert to Mod 1, this is just a 5mm Mod 1 pinion gear. And I liked it that way because there is a flat on kind of this output shaft here, input I guess, but regardless, a flat for the set screw to go into. You know, so that's how you change things out. You know, and then set and mash, boy, it's gonna be a bit of a pain. I think you're gonna have to take everything out, fit it up, and put it back in every time you want to change, because you don't have real good access, especially with a bigger pinion. You don't have access to the mounting screws. I'm pretty sure they made almost like an Arma style motor mount that'll slide in and out. I know I ordered a spare motor mount. I thought it was that one, but probably should have looked. But so that's how you go about doing it. I think I've ran this on, I've done a 4S run on this. I'm gonna try that parallel 6S next time I go out, so I might actually change my gearing a little bit. So, alright, I'm gonna put you off. I'll figure out which gears I'm gonna go with and then bring you back. Alright, so this is what I think I'm gonna try. I knew I was only doing 3 and 4S last time I had it out, so I had it geared pretty high. I'm gonna put a bigger with 6S, go with the bigger spur and a little bit smaller pinion. I don't know how small I can go, but we'll give it a shot. So it looks like I had 3. So reassembling things. So like I said, this one's actually a Techno pinion for a motor, but I'm going to use it as a spur. Going to put a little dab of thread locker on. Get it all in there and get things lined up so I can put it on the flat here. Want to make sure everything's moving freely. Then again, this is my fix. Oh yeah. Alright, I remember I used that other pinion. It had a cap that came out. So I think we're gonna need some more spacing, because you can see this is recessed the whole way. That other one I had some metal part coming out that was close to flush with that top of the pinion here. So I actually have from a blown Castle motor. If you ever have a blown motor, I would take some of the parts out. So they have these, like, I don't know if they're brass or whatever, spacers inside in the rotor or stator or whatever it's called in a brushless motor, on both sides. And I think that's a good starting point. I'm gonna for sure need these. I might need to get some more or see what else I have laying around. Go with what I've got. See what happens. Really tough to tell. Okay, that's rubbing. So I need more space. I wonder if 2 of them is going to be too thick. That's what I got. I'm probably going to go on Amazon and look up what kind of 5mm aluminum spacers they have, because this is going to be a pain in the field to try to change gearing out. But I have a few nitros, so I always have, I don't know, I like these little flywheel nut shim kits. Ended up using these shims in a lot of different, not a lot, but several other applications besides as intended for on a nitro clutch. I'll grab one more of these thicker ones, 0.2 mil. Throw it on there. It's a lot of trial and error for sure. One more, yep, again. Pushing a millimeter there. You know, the other thing I could do, I got a 3D printer. That's probably what I'll do. Get some TPU printed spacers. Alright, so now I'm putting the spacer that came with the kit, or with it, on here. Kind of hard with this motor, and me trying to show you in the video. A little too much play. I don't know. We're gonna go with it, see how it goes. I'll probably play with it a bit more. Sit down. So this is where it gets tricky with how everything's put together here. This needs to go way in. It's going to be close to being too small. All right. Using a ball end to get this. Just slide it all the way in and see. Now. Too much, so I'm gonna go up one tooth. Where it gets tricky setting the mesh with everything set up here. If you've got a better way, let me know. Oh, that's just a touch. Come on, drop in there. At least I can get, that's about the biggest pinion I can still access this stuff on. It'd be nice if this shaft came off and you could at least pull this out from the middle here, but There's got to be a better way. I keep thinking on it, but this is how I'm gonna have to do it for now. Back together. Yeah, pretty decent mesh. So that's what I got for this one, the Mod 1. Changing the gears is just not going to be the easiest thing in the world, so just something we'll have to kind of deal with, and certainly if you've got a better thought or way of doing it, leave a comment. I'm all in for different ways, but we'll try it with RTR now. I'm gonna put speed gearing in that. I got one of those gold-plated necklaces. I don't know if this is just, I'm sure it's just plastic covered in something, but I'm actually gonna run it. I just don't know that I trust the plastic one. Maybe we will. No, we're going to do the gold-plated one. I don't know if I showed you, if you're curious. I got one blue, one red body. So kind of cool. So yeah, hopefully I don't have to use it, but like I said, this is going to be spare parts if needed. That is a super light lipo. Alright, you got all this lighting stuff, so it might get a little more complicated, but I will dig in, fast play it for the video, and we'll see how far we get. Really kind of tough with the lights and everything. This is going to be a bit of a pain. Fighting me. All right. All right. Sorry, camera overheated. Which probably wasn't the worst thing in the world. This was really Loctited on there. There's actually like no Loctite on the set screw, but they like glued this cup to the shaft basically. So I actually had to pull the set screw out and really heat it up. There's still some more stuff to be burnt off, it looks like. But on there really tight. Had to use some heat to get stuff off. I'll probably getting some of the stuff off, but with the The stock setup, really hard with all these lights, but you can see the spur gear is just held on with 4 screws there. So comes with a metal one, at least this one does. Same as this plastic one, which is like the middle size gear. You get, at least mine came with 3 different spurs, and it's got a metal one of the middle, which I think is 60 some teeth. Looking for a number on there. But anyway, going to go back with this one, which is a 52 tooth. So really to replace it, you just take these 4 screws out. There's the bearing. So stock spacer on the outside towards the cup of the bearing. The bearing. Hope that pinion's big enough to reach. We'll have to see. Fits. You can see the motor's all the way down, so really leaving you room to go bigger. Really fighting me. Yeah, so good to note the gearing that comes with the pinion. The largest pinion and the smallest spur will not work together. So you need something bigger than this. Let me grab the extra stuff and see if it tells us what size. Yeah, so that's a 40 tooth that it comes, 40 tooth pinion with the 52 spur. You must need like a 45, something bigger, a few more teeth at least, bigger to run the 52 tooth spur. So I'm gonna go back to the bigger pinion and the original stock metal spur, see how that goes. together. So pretty good. So well, there you go. Changing the pinion and spur on the Rlaarlo 917. Again, not the easiest thing in the world. If you got a better idea, please post on how you might be tackling this. Be interested in that, because